Give my regards to the Abyss.
What's happening, YouTube? Project Diablo 2 Enlightenment is going to be launching soon, and I want to share one of my favorite builds from the closed beta, the Dragon Tail Kicksin. There are a lot of variations to this build, but for this video I'll be showcasing 2 of them. Keep in mind that the gear selection is pretty subjective, so you can use whatever you see fit. This is just what I decided to use for the showcase. In order to make this build work properly, you're going to want to focus on some of these key points. You want to achieve maximum frames for your attack speed, which will vary depending on your skills, both your gear and your mercenaries. Be sure to use one of the mini IAS calculators floating around in existence if you are unsure of where you're currently standing. Make sure you hit maximum block chance, which is 75%. You can do this by changing your gear around however you see fit, or you can dump a ton of points into dexterity, which is usually not the best way to do it, but if you need to, you can. Make sure that you get your resistances as high as possible with your gear, your charms, and then you can even use fade if you need to. You want a moderately decent health pool. I usually aim for about 1k before using CTA. Aim for maximum deadly strike, which is 75%. It never hurts to be able to double your damage. Some form of life leech and or mana leech to help out with sustain. Some PDR is helpful but not entirely necessary. I do recommend running at least a little bit. Lastly, but far from least important, would be stacking your offhand damage, with either straight damage, enhanced damage, or fire pierce. Let's have a look at the first build. All socketed gear has been equipped with fire facets. The weapon I chose is Fire Lizard's Talon for the martial arts skills, attack speed, and fire pierce. Steel Shade for the helmet for the skills, the block chance, and the mana leech. I went with Tooth Row for the deadly strike. High Lord's Wrath for the skills and the deadly strike. Phoenix for the redemption aura and the fire pierce. Opt Gore Riders. A life leech ring. Dungos for the PDR and the FHR. Ravenfrost for the CBF. Drax for the extra life leech and the life after each kill. Random resistances for the small charms to cap off my res, and for the grand charms, skillers, but you can also use max damage charms. I decided to go with an Act 5 mercenary and equip him with a beast for the fanaticism, and I also get the might aura from him. And for the stats, enough strength to wear your gear, enough points into dex to achieve max block, and the rest into vitality. Dragon Tail sitting at 7400 to 13k, which isn't too shabby, but keep in mind we have a ton of fire pierce on this build, so that's going to help out a lot with this. Nothing in the traps tree. For the martial arts tree, you're going to max Dragon Tail and its synergies and 1 point into its prerequisite. The key thing to take away from the Shadow Disciplines tree would be to max Fade, and then I just kind of threw my points wherever else I wanted. You can definitely change this tree around as much as you need to. Alright, that's going to cover it for this particular one. Let's dive into some of the footage I have from this build doing some maps. Starting off with the first build here, we have 17k top end damage. Not too bad for sheet damage. So that first build was pretty gnarly, but I think this one may top it, but I think it'll come down to personal preference. So let's go ahead and get into it. Fire Lizard's Talon with 3 low runes to help out with Deadly Strike. A triple Crown of Ages for the helmet. A high rolled Fortitude for the armor. A Saracen's Chance amulet. A Phoenix Monarch shield. Upgore Riders for the high damage and the rest of the Deadly Strike that I need for this build. A Ravenfrost ring. Verdungos. BK Deathband for the ED and PDR. And Frostburns with a faster block rate Corruption. A 2-5 CTA, and in the offhand I am using a Lidless Wall. The charms are a little bit better than the last build, but it's more or less the same idea. The Mercenary is using the same gear as the last build, so I will not be going over that. Instead, we're going to jump right into the stats. Same idea here, enough strength to wear your gear, and then the Dexterity I put a ton of points in so I can achieve maximum block, and then the rest of the points into Vitality. The skills are a little bit different this time around. I decided to put a few points into Blade Shield. Martial Arts are exactly the same. And I put a couple of points more into Burst of Speed to help out with my IAS Breakpoint. I also put the rest of my points into Venom and Claw Mastery. So that's going to do it for the second build. Let's go ahead and dive into a 372 density cow map. The sheet damage on this one is quite a bit higher, sitting at 25k top end damage. Always remember though, sheet damage isn't always true and there are bugs and all sorts of things that affect that, so take that with a grain of salt, but that's still pretty impressive. she absolutely murders shit. It's a great build, definitely not a season starter. You might want to start off with something like traps early on and then work your way up to it. But either way guys, that's going to do it for this one. So if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It also helps with video game visibility, and I appreciate that. If you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I'll have more PD2 and D2R content coming out in the near future. But until the next time guys, I will catch you in the next video.